Hey everybody, I'm filming from my car today because I seem to have more time when I'm in the car. I leave the car set on autopilot when I'm doing this, so I keep track of it, but it's relatively safe for me to be filming and talking and watching at the same time. Today I'm going to be talking about the first 2 nights of plant medicine ceremonies we did at Rythmia Life Advancement Center in Guanacaste, Costa Rica, as well as a little background information on plant medicine itself and how I happened to get interested in it. If you didn't catch my first video on the subject, I'll include a link on that below. You might want to check that out and see the grounds and everything at Rythmia. And so join us as we get into the nitty-gritty of these plant medicine ceremonies, and I can tell you it's a pretty wild ride. So I hope you'll stick around and maybe even hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Became interested in plant medicine way back in 1970. We were all reading books by Carlos Castaneda, and he was talking about meeting a shaman in Mexico and doing, I think in his case he was doing peyote. So we were intrigued by that and interested in experimenting, and LSD was going around at the time, and even psilocybin mushrooms and things like that. So then the mid-70s came around, and I became interested in transcendental meditation and started to become a regular meditator. And gradually, slowly, these kind of bad habits fell away, and I drank less and smoked fewer cigarettes, and eventually no cigarettes, and smoked less pot and this and that. In other words, I kind of cleaned up my act. So I thought I was pretty much done with this kind of experimentation, but last year in the spring I was listening to Fresh Air with Terry Gross, and she had this New York Times best-selling author, Michael Pollan, on, and he was talking about psychedelics and their therapeutic use and how beneficial they are, people with eating disorders and depression, and in his case he tried it and it helped him overcome the grief of losing his father. So I became interested in this all over again, and nowadays everything is it's so easy to find things online. So I went online and looked up plant medicine, and my first reaction was that I would have to fly down to Peru and take a boat ride up the Amazon and then traipse for a couple of hours up through a rainforest and end up doing plant medicine in some kind of hut surrounded by snakes and jungle insects and tarantulas and things like that, all in my head, of course. But in the course of my looking around the internet, and I did find some pretty neat places. I found this place, Rythmia, which I've already covered in my first video, and I hope you'll go back and watch that if you haven't watched it. But it's basically a luxury resort where you get the plant medicine, but you get all the amenities of modern luxury life, which I thought was good, because you'll find that the plant medicine itself is tough enough, and I didn't feel that I wanted to add rough jungle life to the mix. Just finished my first night's plant ceremony. Ayahuasca is not a recreational drug. I'll have more to say about that tomorrow, maybe. So obviously I didn't talk more about it the next day. There were just so many interesting people to talk to there and so many interesting things to see. Also, I think I needed a little bit more perspective on it. So ayahuasca, meaning ayahuasca and chacruna together, have a way of tapping into your subconscious, which is, to put it in computer terminology, it's kind of like the underlying operating system. So there are things that are going on sometimes in your subconscious that you're not even aware of. So you may have a fear of flying, or you may have a fear of spiders. And when you do a plant medicine ceremony, you're actually sometimes tapping into going deep into your subconscious and seeing sometimes the root of some of these problems. And it's an amazing, frightening, intimidating experience. And that first night, I describe it as being in a Fellini film, you know, where they have all these faces swirling in and out, like carnival kind of faces, except in Fellini films it's black and white. And in my case, it was bright, vivid, gaudy colors with faces swirling in mockingly, a horrific soundtrack, and it really felt like a descent into hell. It was not a pleasant thing, and that's why I mentioned after the first night that ayahuasca is not a recreational drug. You don't do it for fun, and yet you're going in there and kind of cleaning the basement a little bit, cleaning the subconscious and getting in touch with things. And the staff there is just amazing. When you're going through really difficult times, they come over and they talk you through it, and they kind of coach you, whatever it is that you're seeing or feeling, just turn and face it. In normal life, we tend to run from things. So something is bothering us and we turn on the TV, or we read a book, or we do something to distract ourselves from it. Whereas in ayahuasca, every night you are there with the ayahuasca, and the ayahuasca is taking you on a trip. And it's sometimes a trip to places that you wouldn't want to go if you had the choice. So we were fortunate to have these beautiful guides, these talented shaman, to kind of talk us through these sometimes horrendous experiences that we were going through. One of the things you're going through, in addition to psychologically feeling you're taking a trip sometimes into hell, you're also sometimes purging. Now, purging generally means throwing up, but it can mean diarrhea, it can mean hiccuping, it can mean a lot of different things. So I would say many people, maybe most people, experience some form of purging. And again, that's getting rid of, the same way that the visions that you're having are giving you insights and getting rid of accumulated stress and trauma in your system. The purging is also getting rid of baggage on a different kind of a level. So when you're at Rythmia, everybody has his or her own bucket, a purging bucket. And they actually sell them in the gift shop, because some people become so attached to them they want to bring the bucket home at the end of the week. So it was a difficult experience. I had made up my mind that I was going to stick through it, no matter how bad it got. I was just going to stick with it, go through it. I had heard enough testimonials about how worthwhile it was. There were some people who didn't make it, who left. And I was just pleased that I had this resolve that I was going to stay no matter what. One of the most unusual nights of my life, I'm usually pretty buttoned down in my language. I was kind of swearing like a trooper, purging, descending into hell. I mean, what more do you need for a beautiful night in Costa Rica? And then at the end of the night, you meet as a group and you share experiences. And pretty much all of us are going through the same kinds of experiences, different stories, different visions, but we're all clearing out baggage from our subconscious that we're probably better off without. So overall, even though you would never want to do this recreationally, it certainly seems to be a worthwhile thing to do. And I'll be telling you more about each night. There are 4 nights of plant ceremonies. You do Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and then an all-nighter on Thursday night. So we'll be talking more about each of these nights and the difficulties, the benefits, and on and on. So, well, I'll catch you in the next scene. So on the second night, we line up in front of the maloka. The maloka is the plant medicine ceremony building at about 5:30 in the evening. And we have mixed feelings. In a way, we're a little bit less intimidated because we've been through it before. In a way, we're more intimidated because we've been through it before. So it reminds me a little if you're on in a line to get on some big carnival ride or a roller coaster or something that's a little fun but intimidating at the same time, and you're there and you're ready to go, but you're wondering, is this something that I should do? So night 2 is Brad night. Brad is one of the shamans and he makes his own local brew. Usually they get the ayahuasca from Peru and they have it sent in, but on Tuesday nights Brad makes his own local brew. And it's people like it, and every night has a slightly different theme, and you can expect slightly different effects and this and that. So this is what we do on the second night. Just to give you a little preview, here's what I looked like almost 10 hours later. Just finished tonight's second plant ceremony. And I know I don't usually swear, but holy fucking shit. Oh, sorry, Buddha. So I'll have more on this. I'll have story after story to say about this. What a night. What a night. Alrighty, I gotta go to bed. So you can see from that 2 a.m. clip that Tuesday night, the second plant medicine ceremony was a real trip. It's funny, I'm not remembering a ton of details about it. It was a continuation of the night before, going into the subconscious, digging up things, more of that Fellini kind of faces swirling around me and things like that. I do remember one time that it was so intense that I crawled up to this guy, Brad. Now, there were 2 Brads. There was Brad, the plant medicine guy, and there's Brad, one of the helpers. And I crawled up to the second Brad because I couldn't walk. And Brad does this little ceremony over you, and just so reassuring and so kind and so wonderful. And he blows rapé up your nose. Rapé is a kind of ceremonial tobacco, and they put it in a tube and blow it up your nose, and it is just a head rush. And it grounds you. I mean, you're still out there, you're still having these experiences, but you're back to earth, and there you are. So I asked Brad afterwards, Shaman Brad, about this whole descent into hell business, and he said that it was fairly common and that he'd experienced it many times. And the interesting thing to him is that each time he confronted these hellish visions and entered into this hellish existence, it became less intimidating, less frightening. And he's actually gotten to the point where it's just intriguing and interesting and not frightening at all. I think it might have to do with what the psychologist Carl Jung called confronting the shadow self and becoming comfortable with that side of yourself. And it may even relate to that old adage of rather than curse the darkness, bring some light. So if the shadow side is the darkness side of yourself, just shed some light on it and it becomes less frightening. And so that's an interesting concept. So we've got 2 nights down, 2 plant medicine ceremonies down, 2 to go. It's interesting, it's intriguing, it's not easy, but I'm looking forward to the last 2 evenings. This is my little tree that I drape every day. It's just an amazing presence. As you get in closer, you see the lines, this green, different shades of green.